A favorite moment. This one is a little hard one to think of. That doesn't consist of a part of maybe 43 or 49 or 54, which are some obvious peak moments in the series for Purple Hyacinth. I have talked about some of my favorite moments, which is with paneling, especially in my Kim analysis, which you can find in the top right, and how the dialogue and direction makes a good role of shedding some light into character Kim Liddell. But I wanted to find a moment of Lauren that really resonated with me and that I felt deserves more love, so I will be talking about the boxing scene in episode 44 of season 1. This is in part of the 1 million subscribers appreciation week, which you can find more details on the Instagram account that is hosting this amazing event. All the links can be found in the description down below. You can also find the creator appreciation one in the top right that I posted yesterday. Again, the timeline is broken into sections, so you can choose to skip around to whatever portion you find more interesting. Now, let's begin. Lauren is a very nuanced main character filled with hypocrisy and contradictions. Her view of the world is so black and white, and she is very honed and focused for one main objective: to find the truth about Dylan. Every action and reaction in the story, even to the most recent chapters, emulates the same internal struggle that Lauren has, which paints her world in gray, shaking her beliefs in a fundamental way. This little scene in 44 highlights those aspects as well as ties in the narrative to show the strained relationship Lauren has with Kieran and her ideals. I was even looking back at my script for my 44 review, and it's filled with the word ship, and I had Kieran's name spelled wrong with a K-E-I instead of a K-I-E. Oh man, what a mess. I did like that I said that we got the montage of Lauren beating up Kieran, the punching bag, and the part about stitches where they do symbolize a relationship, and that even though most of it snapped, there's still one left. So there is hope. And I reread Lon's essay too and agree that the stitches breaking is that physical representation of the rift in their interaction. But why does this moment work so well? Outside of the amazing music, it parallels the scene where Kieran does give the stitches in episode 37. During that particular episode, Lauren gets to see a side of Kieran that she didn't think was possible, one of normalcy. The apartment is modeled after someone who just has regular old person. Not old, but it's a regular person, but has that flavor of a cozy home, filled with Kieran's belongings. He, I would assume, got to choose the furniture and the books on his bookshelf and whatnot. Each little item he bought for his place adds character to him as a person. Lauren always pushes aside pain because she can't be bothered by it. If she really needs to find the truth, and Kieran is the only person who can really talk to her and make her realize that she's in way over her head. A sprained ankle and a gash that is way too big to close on its own. Lauren is willing to let herself get damaged and beaten for the sake of her goal, which will leave her riddled with holes and regret by the end of her journey if she continues down this path. The stitching sequence was fantastic as Lauren uses her talking about the implications of what she found in Fleming's room as a very good distraction away from the pain. We only see 3 needles, but in the end we got 5 total sutures for her arm. Anyways, back to the actual boxing scene in 44. Her trust and comfort with Kieran has been shattered, and after she convinces herself not to get involved with others, which was her own rule, Lauren ends up at the gym somewhere probably in the APD/11's office. The sequence of 8 to 9 punches at the the punching bag. This is that separation of the attachment to the idea that Kieran is normal and not a monster, especially with the events of 43. So recently in the story. If Kieran had actually told her about the mission, she would probably dumb rush and try to save them, or at least try to get the information she wanted out of Anslow. As we've seen, Kieran continues to withhold information even in the 60s, like with Belladonna. I guess that was more in the 50s, because Lauren will jump to the occasion of learning more information regardless of the risk involved. The irony is that Lauren is willing to let criminals die when she doesn't have to stain her own hands, like when she had initially suggested Kieran just to kill them off in the early parts of season 1. But here, this is completely on her as well, and she can't avoid it, just like how she blames the deaths of Dylan and those at the train bombing on herself and carries their burden throughout life, for at least for the past 10 years. Her anger and frustration is tied to Lauren feeling like she was never in control to do the things that she needs to. That punching bag is as much Kieran as it is her, taking the hits so that no one else has to. And although I'm probably overthinking it, a suture that reopens and is not treated properly will leave a bigger scar than intended, as the top layers of the skin won't be the ones actually closing together. It's that third layer that forms the bridge and that scar. Sutures are meant to be an aid, just like Kyrian is meant to be an aid for this journey, and tossing that aside will bite out more of Lauren's morality than she can probably take. To remove a suture, you essentially have to cut with the hooked scissors and then use some pliers to remove the thread off. Each pair of those punches signifies that clipping and removing process that Lauren has forcefully done upon herself through the punching, thus resulting in one suture left, holding Lauren desperately. The needles flowing just like Lauren's punches, counteracting their effect and resulting in no progression forward, as Lauren's situation even now is back to a standstill of knowing more information than most, but not enough to make any change occur. A little more tangential than I wanted, but that's pretty much all for the video. I hope I shed a little bit of light on this scene and why this is one of my favorite moments. And for those who are shocked it's not episode 51 or something, well, that's because Athena hasn't really done anything. All she does is stand around and talk loudly. Alright, well, I'll see you all tomorrow for 71's chapter review if you fast pass, and 67 for those who don't, as well as a continuation for this appreciation for 1 million subscribers for Purple Hyacinth. Peace.